The thing is, I used to have really bad stage fright, so I hated performing in front of people, which is why I started a YouTube channel and why I started SoundCloud, was so I could just send people links. Like, oh, I just did this cover, I just sang, I just made this song. So I wouldn't have to do it in front of people. So I would send them out to my family, my friends, people like, I do music, by the way, like, you want to hear it? And I would send it. So I started sharing it young like that.
I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Of course, I appreciate yours as well.
I'm excited to hear your story. I'm Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the latest song you put out and everything else in store.
Yeah, let me wipe my camera really quick, just to be a little wipe. Okay, cool.
Amazing. So I did read, and correct me if I'm wrong, from Seattle area, Seattle, Washington.
Yes, from Seattle.
Tell me about that. What was it like growing up in Seattle? And were you in the city of Seattle, or were you on the outskirts and the suburbs?
So I was born in like Seattle, like the city of Seattle. And then when I was like five or so, my parents divorced. So I moved with my mom, like more to the outskirts of Seattle. And then I would like come into the city on the weekends to visit my dad. And so most of my life, I grew up in the countryside, like waterfalls, vast forests, very lush greenery. I went back a few weeks ago and I was like, whoa, this is why I'm the person that I am. Like, you don't realize until you go back somewhere, you know?
Sure. And you're in where, LA now?
I'm in LA now.
Okay. Yeah. My family and I recently moved to a couple of years now, to Nashville, in Tennessee area.
Mm.
I'm from San Diego. So here I was like, whoa, like this, it's so green and there's so much space. It's just a totally different vibe than living in Southern California.
Oh yeah, it's very. I mean, California is beautiful, but it depends. Depending on where you live, you can get the desert, you can get the lush. So I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely Pacific Northwest is beautiful too. It's got all the greenery and everything else.
It is so beautiful. It's very peaceful. It's like you don't have to really seek nature to be in nature. You just go to your walk to your car and you're like, feel
Right.
like you just took a trip in a forest.
Sure.
Yeah.
I did see also you come from a fairly musical family. Dad and mom both are musicians, correct?
Correct. Yeah. My dad was a drummer and also a DJ, and my mom played piano growing up. Like, it's not like she pursued being a pianist necessarily, but she definitely grew up playing and like taught me how to play when I was younger. So music was always in my household. Like, I would wake up and there's always music playing, which I love. I still do that now. Like, that's the wake up, light an incense, play music. It's like my morning
What do you play
rituals.
now? What are your like go-to records at the moment? I'm just curious.
Ooh, right now I'm in like a playlist wave, so I'll play jazz music in the morning or like
Yeah.
reggae music in the morning, and then midday is like put on my favorite R&B song and then go to like make a playlist from that, or like I have playlists for different seasons. Right now I'm starting my fall mix,
All
so
playlists.
fall
Okay.
play it has a lot of like D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, stuff like very like stuff that feels warm and organic is fall to me.
Yeah, I love that. And then kind of picking up your dad's traits as far as like the DJing goes. Is he like was he like a club DJ?
Yes, he was a club DJ. He used to have like racks of tapes at home, and he would make me mixes and stuff. But he liked all the hip hop. He liked a lot of hip hop, and like what else? A lot of like soul, hip hoppy stuff, like stuff that I think paved the way for trap, paved the
Oh,
way
sure.
for modern hip hop, was like what he really liked to mix.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever learn drums or just piano from mom?
No drums, guitar was my thing. I like my mom tried to teach me how to play piano, and I was like, I don't want to play piano. Like I was so did not like the fact that my mom was telling me what to do. So
Sure.
I picked up the guitar, which has like a rhythmic aspect to it.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, the guitar was my baby for a while.
What age did you start playing guitar?
When I was seven,
Wow, that's really young. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It's
And were
been a
you
minute.
songwriting early as well? I mean, to start playing guitar at 7, was that something that you picked up fairly quickly as well? Or
That's a good question. I've been songwriting since I was, even before I started playing guitar, like five, six, like when I could start writing words, I was writing songs. Like
really?
that's just where I wanted to start doing. And my dad got me like a cassette recorder so I could also record my voice. So I would like record my demos and stuff into these cassette players
That's
and like
amazing.
play them for myself.
Do you have
And
any of
then
those cassettes?
no, but I do have the
Oh.
songs,
Oh, you
and
do? That's
they're
amazing.
still in my head. Um, yeah, and I would like try to force my sisters to write songs. I'd be like, "It's time for songwriting class." So I would like pretend to be the teacher and like teach them how to write. They don't write songs, but I would like try that. And then guitar
Well,
took me a while to learn too. I remember getting so frustrated when I first played. Like, I was, can't get my fingers to play these chords, but
yeah, I mean, 7, the neck of the guitar and being able to push the strings down, I mean,
yeah, it was
that's
so
yeah.
frustrating. But then once I got over the hump, it was smooth sailing. And
Once
then I
the
started writing
calluses built
songs.
up.
Oh yeah, they're like forever calluses. Like I feel like I don't even have to play and they're still there.
So then you
Yeah.
started writing songs, you said, once you kind of picked up
Yeah,
a
once the
guitar.
guitar started getting more accessible and like communicate, like I could easily communicate myself on it, I started writing on guitar and recording songs. And when I was in like beginning of end of middle school, beginning of high school, I like got my first laptop and I got free music making software and I just started like producing myself and recording the guitars in and making songs, putting them on SoundCloud and stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow, wow, that's really cool. So those probably still exist somewhere if they're up on SoundCloud.
those exist. I can't tell if I archive them or if they're still up, but they exist on SoundCloud is where you can find the deep cuts for sure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool. It's cool that you have them there. I mean, to go even if they're not if they're private or whatever, you could still go back and listen to yourself
definitely.
from
The
back.
evolution.
Yeah, yeah. Were you showing people the songs you're putting up on SoundCloud at that early of an age?
Yeah, the thing is, I used to have really bad stage fright, so I hated performing in front of people, which is why I started a YouTube channel and why I started SoundCloud, was so I could just send people links. Like, oh, I just did this cover, I just sang, I just made this song. So I wouldn't have to do it in front of people. So I would send them out to my family, my friends, people like, I do music, by the way, like, you want to hear? And I would send it. So I started sharing it young like that.
Okay. And
Yeah.
with YouTube, was that something that you would go on, fairly was that like you had a channel and that was something that you was part of your life?
Yeah, it was. I had a channel and I would upload covers every week. Like sometimes I would be late to school because I was like, Mom, I did not get the take. Like I need to stay home. And I would like whatever new song came out that week, I would cover it. Like I remember I did
Oh.
like Rihanna Work on the guitar, like Beyonce 7-Eleven on like I was like anything I was making. I also did a lot of like uh, K-pop songs or like J-pop songs, and I would translate them and put them on YouTube too. And that
And you
was like,
translate them into English?
hmm
Wow.
yeah,
Because you learned Japanese at a very early age, right? As well, like
just
write
like
and read it and everything.
yeah. I went to Japanese preschool and Japanese kindergarten, and my mom was a Japanese teacher too, so I was just Japanese all around
Immersed
me,
in it. That's
immersed in
awesome.
it. Yeah, it's
So
the
you, I'm
number.
sure
I
you
feel
can
like a
still,
good way to learn.
yeah, I'm sure you can still speak the language and everything.
Yeah, I still
That's
make
so cool.
songs in Japanese.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, so you said that was middle school into high school, and then was music always the thing you knew you wanted to do? I know I saw you did go to USC, which has got an incredible music program.
Yeah. I always knew it was something. I always knew it was what I was meant to do. And it's interesting though, because all throughout high school, I was very studious with the intention to get to USC or like get a full ride scholarship to college and then drop out. Like I had this master plan of like I'm gonna pretend I
I just want
really
to get
like
a full
school.
ride to drop out.
Exactly. So that's what I did. I got a full ride. I went to USC. I was in the business program. I was studying marketing and like accounting, and I was taking a few like extracurricular music classes. And then I would just do sessions and make music all day. I didn't go to any parties. I didn't go to any football games. I didn't do anything but make music and do homework. And then I started going to sessions and taking meetings. And then when I started doing music more than school, I was like, okay, it's time. The master plan has worked. I'm leaving now. So then I dropped out and I just started doing music full time.
That's so funny. I love the fact that you wanted to get a full ride scholarship just so you could drop out without finishing.
I was like, I don't want nobody to tell me I can't leave school. Like it's on my dime. It's on my, um, I wanted that freedom to be able to leave.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
funny. So you got a full ride to USC. But you weren't going for music. It just happened to be something you were doing as a, a hobby, I guess, at that point, but knowing that that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, and I didn't even know you could study it. Like if I would have known, I probably would have applied, but
Mhm.
I didn't even know the music program existed. So I remember getting there and people were like, "I'm in the pop music program." And I'm like, "What do you mean you're in the pop music program? You can study that?"
You're like, you
So
just made that up.
I was like, "No way." But yeah, I was in business. I'm happy I did though. I feel like the purpose of school for me was to network and meet a lot of really cool people that I still work with, that still inspire me, like still make videos with the friends I made back in college. Like it was a big stepping stone for me.
Wow. And were you like going to school and writing your own songs? Like, was there like what kind of led to you to decide like I'm gonna do the music thing full time? Like you said you were taking meetings and working and doing sessions. Was that just based off of networking? Or were you showing
Mm.
people your songs and then them reaching out to you? Like how did that work?
I in 2017, I think it was like the end of my freshman year of college, I randomly got playlisted on Spotify. And
Wow.
then from that, like, and this was when like it was like the big playlist era. Like if you were on a playlist, it was like, what? So I got playlisted and then I just started getting a lot of inquiries from people and
Hmm.
that really got the ball rolling. And then what else happened? I think I just realized that like I wasn't doing either school or music at 100%. Like I was kind of giving each of them half of myself. And I knew that I did not want to do business, like in terms of making that my career. So I just was like, it's time to take the leap. It's time to leave. It's time to go and do
Okay.
music full time. Yeah.
What was the song that got playlisted?
It's a song called Friend Zone.
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah, it's like one of the first songs I ever released. It's about this guy in high school that really liked me, and he was like too pushy with it. And I was like, I just want to be your friend. So thanks to him, I got playlisted.
That's incredible, though. Wow.
Yeah.
So then people are reaching out, and then eventually this just becomes well, you're releasing more and more music at that point.
Yeah,
Like
at
getting
that
that
point,
one. Was that the first
yeah.
Spotify song you had ever done, or was it just
No, even that was like that song probably came out a year, 2 years before it got playlisted, and
mm,
then I dropped the EP, and I was dropping singles every month. Like I was like being
okay, I
consistent,
see.
and then I met some cool people in college who were like, you should make music videos. So then I started making music videos, and Friend Zone was the first video that I made, and it went really well. It went really, honestly, it went really viral. And I was like, whoa. And then that song got playlisted. So it's this mixture of me taking action and being very consistent to be like, to be in a place where things like that could happen to me. I felt like it was like, mm, I don't want to say luck because I don't fully believe in the word luck, but more just like
No.
opportunities matching my like persistence and willingness that came together for that.
Yeah. Did you feel like after, I mean, having that happen, right? You have this video that goes viral, the song gets playlisted. At that point, were you concerned at all by like, are my, it was that it? Was that the moment? Or,
Ah.
is it going to happen again for me? Because it obviously has grown, consistently. And then, obviously, Remember Me is gigantic, but not that. I mean, other songs of yours have like 50, 60 million plays. I mean, it wasn't like just Friend Zone happened.
Yeah, no, it was. I've never felt that way. I still don't ever feel that way. I have no, I don't feel that way. I always am excited for what's next. Like I even know, like Remember Me is just like the tip of the iceberg for what's possible, and all I have to do is continue to stay consistent and stay trusting, because I keep getting surprised by what comes my way. So I didn't feel that way. I was more like, oh my God, it's working. Like something's working. Like let me just keep doing it.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, and I mean, you've put out a bunch of music, obviously, and a bunch of EPs, and like every like with interlude, like when you did that album or when that EP came out, were you getting? I know you've done some big tours and opened up for some big artists. Like, was that something that kind of came along with the success of the songs?
Ah, yeah. I do think I don't, it's a good question. I mean, interlude for me, I had this song called Midnight Blues on interlude. That was also another big song that did really well.
Oh yeah,
Like that
massive.
opened up a lot of doors for me. And then I went on to drop Love Language, which was another really big project for me. And I had this whole anime like YouTube series that I did for it. And I think that opened me up to a new audience of people who are into that kind of art form. So I think with each project I drop, it's like I show a new interest of mine or a new side of me, and then it like attracts a new audience of people with similar interests. So it like compounds
Mhm.
over time, and everything kind of builds on each other. So yeah, I think each release helps me to get to a new growth.
Sure. With Remember Me, was that when you released that song, was it immediately this big was it just right out the
Mm.
gate, like people were, attracted to the song, or was it something that was there like a moment or a viral thing that had happened that skyrocketed it to where it is now?
No, when it came out, it was very slow, and it was like 1,000 views, 2,000 views, 3,000 views. I'm thinking like the first month it was like maybe 8,000 views or something. And then a year later, out of nowhere, the algorithm picked up the song and it just like blew up everywhere. And that's what excites me about all the music I've released too, is like all I know is that it just takes a little bit of time, and it just takes the belief, and things just randomly pop off. That's what happened with the EP. Like you just like pops off. So no, Remember Me took some time, and out of nowhere, I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah, did you like just see one day, oh my gosh, it went from 8,000 and now it's at 50. Like what happened?
Yeah, I
Was it
think it
something like
was
that?
it was like in a month it got to 1 million, and then from 1 million it was like 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. And I was like, whoa. And then my streams are going up. I was like, whoa, this is so cool.
That's
And then
awesome.
I was doing touring, and yeah, it kind of just was like all at
Interesting.
once.
Yes. With your you did uh introspection and then the reimagined version of that. And you put that out what during the pandemic, right? Everything was kind of
Hmm.
shut down. And were you working on that prior to the pandemic, or like did that mess up the release schedule of the EP, or tell me kind of
Mm,
how that,
that's a
kind
wonderful
of.
question. When I did Introspection was the first project I did with a label. And I was like supposed to do an album. And I, but it didn't feel right. Like I didn't feel like I had enough to say it, or like, yeah, I just didn't feel like I was ready for an album yet. So I just like, I think I need to do an EP. And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, I had all the songs ready. I knew I was going to drop it. Oh, I was in the middle of shooting the short film for it. And my short film filming got shut down in the middle because of the pandemic. And so I just was like, I'm gonna drop it anyways. I'm a very like, if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do something person. So I dropped it, and it fit so well the theme of the project, because the theme of it was me coming to understand a deeper part of myself, like the me within me, like who is that voice inside of me that's guiding me, and developing a relationship with that version of me was this era of my life. And I think that's what the whole pandemic was for the collective and for humanity as a whole. So I almost felt like I got to soundtrack that for my community.
Mhm.
Um, and that's why I was like, I don't think I was ready for the album because I needed that process to then be ready to understand what I wanted to do. And then the Reimagine project happened because I was so uninspired to make anything new. Like I couldn't make myself make anything. I would go to the studio and be like, sorry, I have nothing to say right now. But I
Huh.
was like, oh, why not take something I've created and reimagine it? Like that still feels like I'm getting my creative energy out. So both of those projects were very important for the development of who I am. Like they helped me to learn so many skills that have set me up for what I'm doing and what I will continue to do.
Wow. And it sounds like, I mean, you said there was like the Japanese cartoon or really project alongside your EP. Are you doing something like a short film? Like, is that something that you always kind of bring along with your records?
I
Like that
love the
type of project?
visual. Yeah, I love visuals for music. I think it helps tell the story. And I'm very much a director. Like in my future, I know I'm going to be directing movies and shows and stuff like that. So it's all just like plays into it all together. So when I do my next album, I definitely want to do some kind of visual story with that as well.
Do you write the story after the album is done? Like, do you take the
Mm,
music and then create the storyline for what will be the film or whatever element it is that's gonna go alongside it?
yeah, that's usually my process. I like to just close my eyes and just dream and let everything like materialize here
Uh-huh.
in my mind. And then I'm like, okay, how do I take that into this life? How can I create that?
Yeah, I love that. And with then you put out your studio album, right? With Forest in the
Yeah.
City. And going into that, you felt as like a year later, did the creative juices obviously came back at some point after the reimagined version of that EP. When do going into that, did you know you wanted to do an album at that point?
Mm, yeah. But it's interesting because I knew the I didn't expect it to come to me like this. I was on a road trip and I was like playing through all the songs I had written from when I moved to LA to post pandemic, like after Reimagine. I had like maybe 40, 50, 60 songs that could be on this project. And I
Damn.
was like, yo, if I don't make an album, I feel myself changing completely as a person. If I don't release an album, none of this music is ever going to come out. And so that's what made me release the album. Because right now I'm in that changed person version of me, and I'm like, yeah, I definitely wouldn't have felt called to release Force in the City now. Like that was for that era of me, you know.
Mhm.
So Force in the City is like almost like this end of a chapter to all that version of me, those versions of me, and I also feel like Forest in the City was a big, almost like rite of passage for myself. Because the theme of the project is me realizing as humanity, we've left the forest and we have to come to peace with living in the city now. And like, you walk down the street and you hear bird chirps and you hear sirens and you hear like animals and you hear honking. It's like everything's merging together to create a new forest. And it's humanity is now being asked like how can we be peaceful in this new environment, this new forest we created. And now I feel very grounded no matter where I'm at, whereas before starting the album I felt very uncomfortable living in the city and very anxious or overwhelmed. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And it's like, why do I feel anxious all the time? And I'm just like, it's because we live in a city. It's because we live, and you have to like, you have to seek groundedness. And I feel like you have to find your connection with yourself. And now that I've feel that groundedness, I feel like that's what shifted and prompted this like evolution in myself. And now I'm like a new Umi that I'm very excited to like release music and create as this Umi.
Okay, that's interesting. So you already did you kind of come to that realization and just know, okay, well, all these other songs don't represent where I'm headed. So it's time to just kind of put a bow on that piece of me and then put the album out and then moving forward, you have this, you know, evolution, this new perspective?
It's almost like I feel like this next album I'm working on is the first is like Umi the artist. Like this is me realizing what my artistry is and what I want to do as an artist, and everything that came before this prepared me to understand this. And I think a lot of people, a lot of artists like wait to realize their artistry to release music. But
Mhm.
my story has been more like you're seeing every version of me publicly and through my
As
music.
it
You're seeing
unfolds,
me
yeah.
as it unfolds. You're seeing me experiment with trappy sounds and experiment with fully acoustic. And I'm like, it's almost like I wouldn't be here now without that experimentation. And so Voice in the City was almost like thank you, Umi, for being willing to put yourself out there, even though you didn't know who you were all the way. Like you just knew you were creative and you knew you wanted to do music, and that was the guiding light. And now, because of all of that, I'm more clear of what I want to do. And it was like because I got to go on the road and because I got to tour and because I got to become comfortable being on stage and learn how to be in the studio that I'm here. And so without any of Voice in the City and everything before that, I wouldn't have the foundation I have now. So I hope that makes sense. Like that's what
No,
to me the
100%.
music before versus the music now means to me.
Okay. And with that, I mean, having all those songs, you said 40, 50 songs, was it difficult to sift through
Mm,
and kind of figure out which of those songs best tells the story of where you were prior to this, you finding what Umi is in the project is? I mean, what your
yeah.
artistry is, I guess, moving forward.
Definitely. It took me a month to do it. I'm a very like, I like my processes. So I had me and all the people who I was finishing the album with, we met once a week for a month and we would do 10 songs every week, 10 to 15 songs every week. We listen to them, write notes, and then decide like, does this fit the album? And so we did that. And then from there, we dwindled it down to about 25 songs. And then I spent 4 months doing 25 finishing 25 songs. So I would spend about 4 to 5 days on each song. I like put this all on the calendar. I would do 4 to 5 days on each song, finish, and then at the very end of the summer decided what was on the album.
Wow. And then you had to cut 10, you cut 10 more. I mean,
I
off of that,
cut
right? I mean, because there was
Yep, I
15
cut
songs
10
total.
more. Yeah, I learned so much from that. Like I learned how to use Pro Tools and I learned how to comp my own vocals and I learned how to collaborate in new ways. Like I just learned it was like boot camp for me. And then I also learned how to follow inspiration because in the middle of working on a song, I would be like, it's not on the album. And I know it because I just don't like I'm not inspired. Not because the song's not good or not because it's just like, I'm not feeling it. And I learned how to trust that voice inside me, which I know is what your artistry is like. That's what artistry is your intuition.
Mhm. And you
Yeah.
have a new record out now, and it sounds like you're working towards another album.
Yes, I have a new record out. And before the album, I'm doing an EP in January. And the EP is very important for me and I think for the fans because it's the bridge. It's like the bridge between Umi to Umi. All these songs were like my final experimentation before figuring out what the album was gonna sound like. So it's me playing with folk elements, me playing with like glitchy sounds, me playing with different aspects of songwriting. Um, so yeah, it's like the EP is a very important bridge to get to the album. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so with the EP, and even speaking to the most recent song, like with was that, I mean, you said it's a bridging a gap between Forest and the City. Were these songs from that around that same time period, or had you already kind of made the switch or whatever when as far as your artist project and the direction you're going when it goes to the album? Or were these songs, you said they're bridging the gap, are they part of that? Like, oh, okay, from Forest in the City, I have these songs that are going to be on the EP, but now looking ahead, I know this is where I need to be. I guess my question
Yeah.
is, where did these fall as far as like where you were at as an artist and how that those fall in comparison to Forest in the City and what the album will look like?
They were all songs I made after the album dropped, after I toured the album and I was home for a while. They're
Okay.
like in that the calm after the storm phase, where it's like everything settled. And I was like, what do I have to say about that experience? And then I made these songs. I don't even know why I was making them. I was like, I just want to make music. And I don't even, I don't have like a project I'm working towards or a thing. I'm just creating to create. And then these are kind of my favorite songs from that era of my life.
Okay. And you've
Yeah.
only put the one out, right? Is that the only one?
hmm
Okay.
I have one single. I have another single dropping in November, the top of November, and then in January I'm gonna drop the EP, and I'm very excited.
Wow. Well, tell me about the is the song that's out now a good representation or a good idea of what the rest of the album will sound like or EP?
Yeah, it is. It's a good feeling of what the EP is gonna sound like. Every song on the EP is very different from each other in terms of the sonic worlds, but the feeling they give you is very similar. And the feeling is like a sense of home and a sense of like refreshment, like listening to something like, oh, that feeling that song gave me, I haven't felt that from other songs in a while. Like it's just kind of it's new. That's what the whole EP feels like. And it's like music that inspires, music that when you're feeling lost or you're feeling down, you put it on and like it'll ignite something inside you to be like, oh, okay, I want to take the next step. The whole EP is called Talking to the Wind. And it's just me. When I'm lost, I go outside, I sit and I talk to the wind. I let the wind tell me very simple things. It's going to be okay. You should get up. You should try this. And that's to me, all the songs sound like the wind, like that peace, that guidance that the wind gives you is what all the songs sound like.
Love that. And with this EP with Talking to the Wind, is there going to also be a visual element that goes along with the whole EP?
I have visuals I'm making for each song, visualizers, music videos, dancing videos, and whatnot. But because it's an EP for me, it's like you kind of get to be more like random with things and kind of just be like, I like this and I want to show you this. So it's just me being fun. It's also my first independent release in a while because the
Oh yeah,
album
because
was
you
with
were
the
on a
label.
yeah, you were on a major label before that. Is that
Yeah,
different? Like going into an independent release again?
it is. It feels like back to my roots in a way because I released so many things independently before.
Mhm.
You have a lot more, it's a lot more direct to source. Like it's like less people to get things approved by or like less people to present things. It's just like this is what I want to do, boom, and I do it, which is
Right.
really fun and nice. And what else makes it different? It's a lot more flexible too. Like the timeline's more flexible. I can like I need another week. I need a little bit more time. Like you have a little bit more like leeway with that, which is fun. I like doing them in both ways. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Probably have more
Uh,
creative control as far as like maybe not answering to as many people or submitting songs that somebody might be like, yeah, I don't think this should make the album. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I'm just trying to get
In a way, yeah. I will say though, like I think that the recording label situations are a lot more artist friendly now. Like even in my experience, I felt very creatively in control of how I wanted to present myself. But I agree that there's just like I don't have to get it approved by marketing and radio and head of the budgets and like everybody doesn't have to have a say in it. Um, which is nice. Teamwork is awesome. I'm just like always like everything is cool. Everything has its pros and cons.
You're very optimistic. I
I'm
will
very
say
optimistic. Yeah, so
that.
I can't throw shade on any process. Um, but I am loving this right now. It feels very authentic to who I am right now.
That's awesome. And you just did a tour of Asia. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was
What was that like?
crazy. That was wild. That was wild because you're every country is like maybe 2 to 3 max 5 hours away from each other, but the culture is so different. Like I've toured Europe and Europe is very different in every place, but there's still a through line of like similarity.
Mhm.
Asia's like different country, different food, different language, different side of the street you walk on, different types of cars, different everything's different in every country. So my show was different sets for each show. It was just so
Oh,
nice.
wow. So you had to really you catered to the country instead of just
Definitely catered.
touring with, "This is the set, this is the show." It was you changed it up at every in every
Yeah.
country? Wow.
And I think maybe that's like kind of the difference between how I operate when I'm more in like the western side of the country versus Asia. Like when I'm over here, it's like this is Umi, and you're gonna get Umi in every country or every state I'm in. Versus Asia, it's like this is Umi, but how can I best like represent Umi to fit the culture and to fit the people? And like that seems to work better over there. It's like I'm a little less hype in these countries and more talkative here. Here I'm like I'm not talking. I'm just jumping around and screaming. Like it's like it's fun. It makes you work your like puzzle brain a little bit more out there.
Yeah, was that must have been something you had to, what, learn through experience? Like, how did you go about knowing, "Okay, in this country, I'm gonna do this thing, in this country, I'm gonna do
Mm,
this thing?"
trial and error for sure. Cause I first few shows I went in as just like Umi, and I was like almost like expecting the crowd to be a certain way from the beginning. But then as I went along, I was like, oh, okay, there's more of a polite culture in these types of countries. So that means like people aren't going to clap unless I say it's okay to clap, or they're not going to scream unless it's clearly time to scream. Like, so that means I
Oh,
have to hold more space to be like, hey, everyone, it's cool to do this, it's cool to do that. And then some countries, it's like, oh, they're loud as freak. They're loud.
you
I
can
just
cuss, just so
I just walk on stage and they're loud. So that's that. So
I was gonna say, like, here in the States, there's no, censor of people. They're just
no,
gonna
there's
do whatever the
no
hell they want no
politeness
matter
to them.
what.
Like, you could be like, be quiet, and they'll be like, I love you. And it's really sweet. But in Asia, I was in countries where I could hear a pin drop in the room. It was so quiet, and it wasn't because people were uninterested. It was they were so interested that they were so polite. I had to like rearrange my brain to see things in new ways out there.
Wow, that's so fascinating. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Well, I appreciate your time, Umi. Thank you so much for doing this today.
of course. Thank you for your questions. They're very fun to answer.
Awesome. Well, that makes me happy. I have one more for you while you're here.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Mm. Any advice for aspiring artists? I'll say, ooh, um, don't think so much about it. Just do. Just do. Don't wait until you're in full form, or don't wait till you feel perfect to start, because the world isn't looking for perfect. The world is just looking for authentic people that they feel seen in. So just be yourself and let the journey like take you to your full form, because it's inevitable that it'll happen. And that's what my life has been, and it's worked for me. So try it out.
Bringing it back.